Now, one of the biggest questions overshadowing the Tory party conference is not if, but when the government will pull the plug on the HS2 route from Birmingham to Manchester. Joining us now briefly from Manchester is Henri Murison, Chief Executive of the Northern Powerhouse Partnership. Henri, thank you very much indeed. Can we just cut to the chase? The government apparently looks set to ditch it. That's what we know, but we haven't had any confirmation. Might be in Sunak's speech tomorrow. How is that going to impact? You're there, you're part of this. Explain to the rest of us how important HS2 is to you and to the northern businesses we're talking about.
So we do need to improve connectivity. So at the moment, there isn't enough capacity between, for example, particularly here in Birmingham, the M6 is congested with traffic, and we need to get those lorries off the road and onto the conventional rail network. And the only way to do that is to create the space for that by moving the fast trains onto a new line between Manchester and Birmingham. But what people often don't realise about that new line is it also, at the very top of it, includes a 13-mile predominantly tunnel, a stretch of track between the airport in Manchester and the city centre, and then on towards Warrington in the other direction. And that's the first phase of something called Northern Powerhouse Rail, which is the kind of, you may have heard of it, High Speed 3, the idea for an improved set of links and connections from Liverpool across towards Yorkshire and the northeast in particular, but onto other destinations as well. Now, if you don't build that section of tunnel as part of HS2, you've got a big hole in the heart of your network east-west as well. So people often say, oh, I'd rather go east-west. Why on earth do you want to go north-south? Well, we do need to go north-south, and we shouldn't have to choose between the two. Thank you very much. But what is also very important is that it also forms part of that east-west network. So even if you're, even this morning, people are turning in to talk, just woken up, and thinking to themselves, oh, who needs HS2? Well, I'm afraid us northerners do need it for a lot of things, because we've built all our other plans around this project because we've been told consistently by Conservative governments for the last 13 years that it was a central part of their platform. And I suppose what I need to ask Rishi Sunak is, when he stood for election as a Conservative, when he was in Boris Johnson's cabinet and stood for election and supported that manifesto, was he wrong then or is he wrong now?
Yeah.
Because he was wrong one of those times, and we're Conservative voters and supporters who we've polled in the last week here in the north of England are more positive about the section between Birmingham and the north than the general electorate. So his supporters in the north of England disagree with him. Many of his northern Conservative colleagues disagree with him. I was with Henri Davidson, who was an HS2 skeptic, right? She thought the money should all be spent in the north, but now it's been started. She was telling our reception here in Manchester, we've got to finish. People like Henri do speak for grassroots Conservative opinion, very popular figure party. Yeah. She's not alone.
Absolutely, Henri. And at the end of the day, not a single voter has voted for Rishi Sunak to make this decision. No one voted for him to become Prime Minister. I'm a northern girl, Henri. I'm from Blackpool.
No way.
I know.
No way.
I understand the importance of the connection. And as much as you might say, OK, so you've got HS2, Birmingham, Manchester, what's that going to do for the northeast, for the northwest? But as you said there, businesses are already starting to, and have been for a long time now, investing in the northwest, investing in the northeast, on the very basis that HS2 is going to connect the south with the north and then broader east and west. How is this going to affect businesses in the long run?
It's going to have a huge effect on their ability to invest and their ability to attract people to their office space and their lab space, because we've also got a lot of health and life sciences companies not far from where I'm in Manchester, in that Oxford Road corridor. And I mean, you shouldn't listen to me, right? You should listen to some of the businesses involved. People like Bruntwood, based here in Manchester, Chief Executive Chris Oglesby was in the Sunday Times just on this last weekend. And what Chris was saying was that in terms of deterring investment, there are lots of businesses that want to be in Birmingham, want to be in Manchester, want to move people between those places, actually. But they're also thinking about where they're going to put their investment around the world, and getting people in from around the north of England, getting people from further afield is absolutely critical. It is that daily commuting behaviour, right? Where I'm sitting in Manchester, I do often commute to this city every day from Yorkshire. I don't see a lot of other people or talk to a lot of people who do the same thing, because it's so challenging. The M62 so congested, the trains are unreliable, and even when they are working, still quite infrequent actually.
Well, can I jump in, Henri? Because I mean, I actually agree with you. I spent 15 years of my life in Manchester. The M62 is an absolute disgrace. It's a car park. Just a couple of points to balance it out. The government, I imagine, will promise if they don't go ahead with HS2, and I only can guess that there will be money left over, which they would say spend on projects in the north. Andy Burnham made a point yesterday that you made, the mayor of Manchester. We reached out to him, too busy to come on. Hopefully later on in the week we'll get him on Talk Today. He said it's not just north-south, it's east-west. The problem you've got, being honest to you, is we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis, and a lot of people across this country will go, it was supposed to be 30 billion quid, it's now at 100 million quid. I'm not pointing the finger at you or anybody out there. What I'm saying to you is, you run the risk, don't you, of the public going, that is just ridiculous amounts of money when we're all struggling to make ends meet. It's just come at the worst time, hasn't it?
Well, you've got to remember that this money isn't being spent largely right now. Most of the money being spent right now is going to be spent on this new shuttle service that they want to build from Wormwood Scrubs to Curzon Street in Birmingham. And myself and my equivalent from London, John Dickey from Business London, have written to the Prime Minister to ask for a meeting today to discuss how we can work together to make this project better value for money. We've never been blank checkers, right? And people go around and say, oh, you just want a black check. And it's like, well, neither the business community in London nor in the north of England has ever argued for that. What we've wanted is for this government to get the price under control. Who was previously the Chief Secretary to the Treasury? Who was previously the Chancellor under Boris Johnson? Yeah, Rishi Sunak. So I won't take any lessons about who's responsible for the cost overruns. Do you mean? And I mean, in the last year, they put the price up by just £500 million, because whenever you delay the project, it gets more expensive. And most big infrastructure people know, once you've agreed to do it, get on, do it as quickly as possible. Because obviously every year things get more expensive. Most of that cost increase is just general cost inflation. If the government hadn't mucked about, chopped and changed, and Boris Johnson, as much as I have a lot of time for Boris, and I've appreciated his support actually in the last few days, in the last week or so, he did have a review of this. That caused uncertainty, caused chopping and changing. We had to throw away £100 million of design work at Euston because we took away one platform to save money, but then it added another £100 million to the bill. So all I would say is I'm with Andy Street. Andy and I are absolutely in lockstep. The business community across the UK is behind him. We don't want to deliver this at any price. We want to deliver this at a price the country can afford. But simply lopping bits off it means we're going to still spend tens of billions on a shuttle service that no one will want or need to use. There is no challenge getting between Birmingham and London. That is not where the issues are. The issues are on the most congested parts of the rail network that are currently poorly connected in terms of frequency and capacity. The only way to solve that is by building elements of new line. The bits that really matter are the bits between the North and the Midlands and the bits between Leeds and Manchester and on to cities.
Henry, we have to finish there, but genuinely appreciate you being on Talk Today. Very interesting, Henri Murison. They're talking about, well, the reality of a northern business and also paying tributes to Boris Johnson.